Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to Overwatch. And boy, oh boy, did the devs drop a bombshell. We have a new PTR update, and it's not just the new playing while you're searching for a game feature. It's a lot. It's actually meta changing. I'm sure you've probably heard about it by now. So, while you wait is here, let's cover that first. You can basically play a game while you're looking for a competitive game. It replaces the skirmish feature. Now, while in queue, and with your mates if you want to, you can go into the practice range, you can have a skirmish, you can go into a deathmatch, you can go into a custom game, which is really, really cool. And the practice now range now can be entered by groups, which is pretty awesome. All I want to see is, I don't know whether we might see this with Overwatch 2, is an updated practice range, a revamped one, because I think, to be honest, the one we've got is pretty below par for where we're at now with Overwatch. But this is all by the by, because we're here to talk about buffs and nerfs. Now, okay. So general armor damage reduction increased from 3 to 5. So armor is more powerful now. This is really good for tanks, apart from Roadhog and Sigma and Zarya, because I don't believe any of them have armor. But for REIN, for Orisa, this is really good. For Hammond, it's really good as well. For D.Va, it's actually pretty good. But it's actually really good for Brigitte as well. Obviously, Brigitte is the armor goddess of Overwatch when you think about it. She is the armor woman. And this is going to be really good for her, although, to be quite honest, she hasn't had anything else. So I wouldn't expect Brigitte to become OP, but she should be in a better position than she is now. But this is where things get real juicy. Orisa has had her base armor increased from 200 to 250, so she's more survivable. She's had her movement speed penalty when she's firing reduced from 30% to 20%, so she moves faster while she's firing, but her barrier HP has been nerfed from 900 to 600. That is massive. That is a meta-changing update with some of the other updates we've got as well. And her fortifying cooldown has been decreased from 10 to 8. So basically, what's happened here is they've said, Orisa, you're going to be more survivable, but you're going to have less barrier. This means that if you're an Orisa player, you've got to manage your barriers better. You've got to make sure you manage your abilities better because you have got less now. And remember, she got cooldown nerfs on her protective barrier as well, not so long ago. So her barrier is pretty darn weak now. It can be four-shotted by Roadhog, and I believe it can be one-clipped by Baptiste. So that's pretty weak. She has a smaller HP pool on her barrier now than Winston does. So that's where we're at with that. But then, with Orisa, it's going to be more about being a body-blocking tank, if you see what I mean. She's going to be a brawler, I think, more than she is hey, let's plonk here, sit here, and fire from our little position here and not move. She's going to be more of a brawler, more of a body blocker with her fortify and her increased armor and the armor damage reduction. Remember that one. Now, Sigma, or Sugma, or whatever you want to call him. I don't know why I call him Sugma, I just got this thing about calling him Sugma. Experimental barrier. Guess what? HP reduced from 1500 to 900. Okay, that's a big nerf to your HP barrier. Now, add the two figures together, you've got a 900 HP Sigma barrier, and you've got a 600 HP Orisa barrier. All of a sudden, you've got the same amount of HP on the PTR when you're playing Sigma Orisa as you had with just Sigma on live servers. That's how much they've nerfed barrier HP in this PTR update. That is massive. That is bonkers. Right. Barrier health regeneration rate reduced from 150 to 120 health per second. I'll get it out in a minute. This is to counteract that fact. So, if they were to just nerf HP here, and I mean this across the board, then tanks would become trash. Barrier tanks would become trash, and we'd probably go into a meta where we wouldn't see much barrier tank at all. We'd probably go back to dive, or we'd probably go back to, or we'd go to perhaps Hammond D.Va, even, because you just wouldn't survive with those barriers. Now, to counteract the barrier HP nerf, they've given him more regeneration on it, so it regenerates quicker. That makes sense. His kinetic grasp has also been buffed, so cooldown reduced from 13 seconds to 10 seconds, and damage to shield gain ratio increased from 40% to 60%, so he gains more shield when he uses his kinetic grasp. So this makes Sigma more survivable, but nerfs the HP on the barrier. Again, we're giving the old double barrier meta a punch around the face here, beating it into the ground. Now, it means you've got to be wiser with your kinetic grasp. It means it's much, much more valuable to you, makes you much more survivable. Again, it's all about being wise instead of just being, I don't want to say brain dead, but just, it adds more skill-based, play to tanks overall. Then we get to yet another barrier tank. It's Reinhardt. This is a big one. This is a big, big, big one. Okay, so he's had his barrier field HP reduced as well. He's from 2000 to 1600. The thing is, this is still pretty good, right? His barrier will get melted, but 1600 is better than I think anyone can put out right now in the tank category on the PTR. His movement, this is really interesting. Movement speed penalty when he's got his barrier up reduced from 50% to 25%. So, if you compare Reinhardt on the PTR to Reinhardt on live servers, Reinhardt on the PTR with his barrier up will move twice as fast as the Reinhardt on live servers with his barrier up. And trust me, you can probably see footage in the background. I've played it. I am a Reinhardt, well, I used to be a Reinhardt main before double shield, but I was always a Reinhardt main, and man, this buff feels good. The speed buffs feel really good. It speeds the game up. It makes everything so much more interactive and quicker. It's really engaging. It makes the game kind of exciting, if you see what I mean. Then this one, and this one, thank you, Blizzard. Steadfast. Now, you'll remember that a couple of updates ago, Reinhardt got a new ability called Steadfast, where he got a certain resistance to knockbacks and boops, right? So, that was originally at 30% reduction. Now the resistance is at 50%. So, this means, and I've seen footage from Stylosa and things like that, where on the bridge on Li Jiang, he doesn't get booped by Lucio. He can't get booped off that bridge unless he's right at the edge, because he just can't be booped that far anymore. And this goes for things like Pharah, like Lucio, does it count for Brigitte's whip shot and things like that? This is a really massive buff to Reinhardt. It makes Reinhardt feel like a massive German juggernaut, just like he should feel. I also think this propels Reinhardt to being one of the best main tanks, if not the best main tank in the game. But again, that's a discussion for in a minute. Moving on, we have Moira. Moira really heavy in the meta right now. She's had her healing reduced from 4 to 3.25 a second. 3.25, so that's 80 hit points a second to 65 hit points a second. She was too potent, she was healing too much, so now they decided to nerf it. D.Va. D.Va's defense matrix cooldown has been decreased from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds. Yeah. The reason D.Va was nerfed is because she was really, really prominent in a lot of metas back along. She was really prominent in GOATs. She got nerfs there, and now she's kind of dead. I think we can all agree that D.Va is one of the worst tanks, if not the worst tank in the game. I never thought I'd find myself saying that. You go back a year ago and I'll be like, man, D.Va's in every meta, why not? But honestly, these changes on the PTR could bring D.Va back. She could come back. It depends on what meta we go down here. Widowmaker has had a nerf, which is an interesting one. Grappling hook cooldown increased from 10 seconds to 12 seconds. Increased from 10 seconds to 12 seconds. Did I say that right? I think I did. So, yeah. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure whether that was needed in some respects. I think they could have left that until the meta changed, when these tank changes go up. Because let's be honest, we don't see a massive amount of Widowmaker right now on live servers because of double barrier. So, I think they could have left that. and then put that in if it was needed once the meta changed. But hey, we've got it. Widowmaker's been nerfed. In her, she's got less mobility. Torbjorn has had his overload cooldown decreased from 12 to 10 seconds. So, Torbjorn's got a buff. According to the devs, he had difficulty in extended teamfights once his turret is eliminated and overload has been used. This change allows Torbjorn to be able to rely on his overload more often. Torb meta, anyone? Maybe armor meta, family meta with Reinhardt, Torb and Brigitte? Who knows? Genji gets a buff. His Shurk ammo is increased from 24 to 30. This is kind of to bring Genji up in line with a bit of power creep that's been going on in the past couple of years. Genji has not seen much in terms of buffs in, well, ever. So this is to bring Genji up in line with that. I would not expect Genji to become meta, although we could be surprised. Lastly, we have Zarya. Her secondary fire from our particle cannon, its explosion radius has been increased from 2 to 2.5 meters, and its ammo cost has been decreased from 25 to 20. So, bust for Zarya. Again, we haven't seen much Zarya because of double barrier, but I think Zarya could crop up again anyway. So, what does this all mean for the meta? The meta. Always a discussion, the meta. Now, it's the death of double barrier. You're going from a collective 2,400 shields to a collective 1,500 shields, which is what Sigma's base shield is on live now. There is no point. And it also spells, I think, also the death of Orisa Roadhog. Because if you just play Orisa Roadhog, you've got 600 HP in terms of barrier. You've got not much to protect yourselves. The big benefiter from this is Hog, though. And, in my opinion, Reinhardt. Even though Reinhardt has had his HP of his barrier reduced, I don't think it's major enough to really kick him in the knees in some respects. But the movement speed buff and the knockback especially, that buff is just massive. It's just massive. And then he also gets the armor damage reduction buff. I think Reinhardt is either the best main tank, or he's one of the best main tanks, or the best main tank in the game. It depends which way the meta goes. Now, if Reinhardt becomes meta, this is when you bring in Zarya. Because Zarya could well pop off, and we historically see the Reinhardt-Zarya combo. What we might also see, it's a bit weird, but hear me out, is Reinhardt Roadhog. Because Roadhog melts barriers. Roadhog melts barriers. I said earlier that Roadhog can 4-shot an Orisa barrier now. Like, if you're going to play Orisa or Sigma into Hog, you might as well just leave the game. Because your barrier is going to be non-existent. Believe me, I've tried it. I've tried it. And it's not nice. It's not nice. Again, I really think it depends where the meta goes down. This could also bring back Dive. Now, obviously, Dive would look a bit different if it was to come back than it did, because you've got Wrecking Ball. We didn't have Wrecking Ball when we had Dive. So, it would bring back D.Va, it would bring back Winston. The thing is, would we see Winston D.Va? Would we see Wrecking Ball D.Va? Would we see Winston Wrecking Ball? Would we see... You know, you could see any combination of those three tanks to do Dive with. This would also benefit some other heroes, perhaps Genji, Tracer. Tracer's had a buff recently, which has made her a bit better. And if Sigma really does fall down the plug hole in terms of his playtime, that opens up more opportunities for flankers to be played, because you haven't got the threat of that rock or that kinetic grasp to shut you down. So, there is that. But then again, with the armor buffs, we could see more Brigitte, which will shut down flankers anyway. I'm sure you'll all remember Brigitte. Now, I think the Moira changes... I don't know about Moira. It's a difficult one. It depends who you're playing in the team, if you saw what I mean. If you're playing, say, a Reinhardt Zarya, you might well punt for a Moira. But if you're playing Dive, you're probably not going to go Moira. This also will all help Zen as well. We know how kind of trash tier Zen is at the moment. It's because he can't get much done with his orbs. His damage orbs will do work now with less barriers on the field. Simple as that. So, This is a bit of a look at the massive PTR update that's gone up. This will change the meta, without a doubt. It is the death of double shield. It depends where we will go for this. This will probably be the patch the Overwatch League play on, or it will be the patch after this, depending if we see a patch after this, before the Overwatch League starts. I was surprised this came out. I thought we were just going to get this wait while you wait thing feature on the PTR, but we have literally got a massive buff nerf dump that has completely changed the meta. Believe me, I've played so much Orisa recently, and to play Orisa on the PTR, it's totally different. She does not feel very good to me. I mean, it's early days, but she really doesn't feel good. This could be Orisa really going back to being the worst main tank in the game. Early indications though. We don't know until we really get it on live and stuff like that. But I will leave it here for this one. Big changes on the PTR. If you are fed up with the way Overwatch is on live right now, download the PTR, have a look, because it's a very different game. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.